Good evening. My name is Shelley Lewis, and I serve as president of the League of Women Voters of Geauga. On behalf of our board and the Political Action Committee of Kinston, we welcome you to our 2020 General Election Candidate Forum. Here with a special message from PAC is Kinston student Max Vollrath.
Good evening. My name is Maxwell Vollrath, and on behalf of the Political Actions Committee at Kinston, I'd like to thank you all for attending Candidates Night and showing your interest in politics. A principle of PAC is to educate those in our community on current political news and candidates. This has been a difficult year in every aspect of life and a huge year for political candidates. And so I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on a virtual Candidates Night during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to thank the candidates for donating their time to discuss themselves and their ideas. This is a fundamental election, as it is an election for Congress and the President, with the census also occurring. With various state positions up for election too, this time more than ever, the American people need to get out to vote. Best said by Jackie Robinson, "I've never identified myself with one party or the other in politics. I always decide my vote by taking as careful a look at the actual candidates and the issues themselves, no matter the party label. Like Mr. Robinson, do not follow blindly behind one party tonight, but listen and decide for yourself who you believe to be the better candidate. In a controversial period, we need our voices heard. The best way for us to do so is to elect those we truly believe can accomplish that task." Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, Max. A few words about candidate participation. For each race, candidates were invited using previously confirmed email addresses. Decisions not to participate are noted in red for each race. The League of Women Voters of Geauga does not support or oppose any individual candidate or party. Therefore, candidate participation in this forum should not be construed as a league endorsement of any individual's candidacy. Our format and rules for this evening. This is a forum to hear from and question the candidates. It is not a debate. We do not distinguish between incumbents and challengers. Therefore, you will not hear us use titles such as congresswoman or judge. We do not permit surrogates to stand in for the candidate. Candidates for each race present in alphabetical order by last name. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to present and must focus on their own qualifications and plans. The moderator then will present questions that have been gathered from the community via our website and screened by a league panel for compliance with our published criteria. Candidates have 1 minute to respond. Time limits will be strictly enforced. Candidates receive a 30-second alert during their opening remarks and a 10-second alert when responding to the community's questions. The time warnings will be visible to the candidates in the Zoom chat. The word "done" will be displayed in the Zoom chat when the time has elapsed. The moderator may, at their sole discretion, extend or shorten the questioning period. As a reminder, the League of Women Voters of Geauga is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose individual candidates or parties. Our moderator tonight is Dr. Robert Lee. Dr. Lee serves as Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Geauga. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Shelley. The Ohio House 99th District, and we have 2 people running for this position, Richard Dana and Sarah Fowler Arthur. And tonight we have both candidates participating in our program. And first to speak would be Richard Dana.
Well, good evening. My name is Richard Dana, and my wife, Marianne Cezanne, and I live in Austinburg, Ohio. I am a lifelong resident of Northeast Ohio. I received my Bachelor's of Science degree at The Ohio State University and my law degree from Case Western Reserve University. My first job, in the legal field was working for the 11th Appellate District, first as a summer intern and then as a staff attorney. The judges of that court hearing appeals that includes Geauga County. I have a business background as a practicing attorney for nearly the past 25 years. My wife's family owns Eddie's Grill in beautiful Geneva on the Lake of Ohio. And if I had to guess, most people probably know me from my service behind the counter, cooking delicious hot dogs and cheeseburgers and serving ice cold frothy root beer. I have served our area on numerous community boards. My service includes past board chair of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland and the Hubbard House Underground Railroad Museum. I currently serve on the University Hospitals Board, serving as board chair at 2 regional hospitals, both rated 5 stars out of 5 by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services for Quality and Patient Satisfaction. In my spare time, I teach classes at Kent State University at Ashtabula in criminal justice, business law, and ethics to convey my knowledge to the next generation. It is through this work that I have become an accidental historian, and I continue to be amazed at the incredible persons, past and present, who have called Northeast Ohio home and have sought to take the promise of America, equal justice under law, so that it applies to all of our citizens. It's in my work on education that I see the culture of corruption at work in Columbus that harms our children. $600 million of your tax money was squandered when Columbus decided to fund ECOT. My local school district alone lost nearly $4 million to these failed charters. I also see a college education system where the state, for my generation, permitted me to obtain a high-quality education at Ohio State with little or no debt while working part-time jobs on nights and weekends from which to make ends meet. That same education would cost the average student $100,000 today. We saddle our current generation with educational debt and then expect them to purchase a home and start a family. The priorities in Columbus must change to better reflect our values in Northeast Ohio, and that change starts with your vote. I'm endorsed by first responders such as the Fraternal Order of Police, teacher advocacy groups, the Ohio State Medical Association PAC, laborers, veterans working for Ohio, and the Farm Bureau as a friend of agriculture. I will use my experience to continue advocating for us in the areas of healthcare, education, including the need to extend broadband to our area necessary for farming and our growing agritourism industry. I ask for your vote this November 3rd, or as the League of Women Voters will remind us when early voting starts October 6th. Thank you, and my thanks to the League for providing this forum. Thank you.
I have Sarah Fowler Arthur, who will now speak.
As many of you know, I'm Sarah Fowler Arthur, your current State Board of Education representative and running for state representative in the 99th District. I am a farm kid. I grew up here in Ashtabula County and Lake County with Geauga as my backyard, and I have a lot of friends there and always considered it home in a sense. Likewise, I am a small business owner and a founder of the Badger Run Berries, which is a small U-pick farm that I'm starting up in Rock Creek. I'm honored to have received the 2020 Friend of Agriculture designation from the Farm Bureau. And in my previous occupation, I worked in my parents' business doing graphic design and sales and marketing for Fowler Enterprises, Inc. as the director of marketing until getting married to my best friend, Isaac Arthur, this spring. And I now co-produce an international science channel, Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, which has been a great opportunity to use my skills in a new way. Like I said, I've also had the privilege of serving this community on the State Board of Education for the past 8 years. I have vice chaired 3 committees, also had the opportunity to serve as a delegate to the National Association of State Boards of Education Government Affairs Work Group, which focused on the impact of federal government regulations on the Ohio and other state school systems, and currently chair the Teaching, Leading, and Learning Committee. I've advocated strongly for local control, parental involvement, and the best education option for each student throughout my time on the board. I've also focused heavily on the need to improve our trade and job skill training opportunities for all students, which seem to be particularly limited in opportunity for our students in the urban areas. And I think that we all would agree that this crisis has highlighted the need for better infrastructure, broadband, internet access for all of our students, especially in rural areas and areas where we don't have the access has been very important. So just as students are not one size fits all, I believe that neither are other issues in state policy. And I believe we need flexibility at the local level to address those issues on a case-by-case basis. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the NFIB, Ohio Right to Life, Ohio Right to Life Action, and have an AQ rating with the NRA. Unfortunately, my opponent has an F, and I'm also very proud to have been endorsed by the Buckeye Firearms Association. Thank you very much for your support in the past, and I look forward to continuing to serve you if you choose to elect me to state representative in November.
Thank you. Both of you are online, and Sarah, we'll start with you first. We have a list of questions that were submitted to us online, and I'll have you answer this first, and then we'll move to Richard to also respond to it. First question that we have is, COVID-19 has brought economic harm to many. What will you do to encourage a vibrant economy, both in your district and throughout Ohio?
Thank you. That's an important area for all of us. I know as a small business owner and in conversations with many other small business owners, many businesses are being negatively impacted by the response to COVID-19. And we've had a lot of changes that have taken place, and we need to make sure that in our efforts to promote health and safety, that we also promote flexibility and local control so that all of our businesses have a fair opportunity to succeed. And this is also important for protecting our families at a basic level. We need to make sure that students have the infrastructure to continue with their education, that we have the opportunity for a healthy response, but at the same time, we need to make sure that everyone can move forward in a safe way. I think that it looks like my time is up, so thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, as a small business owner, no question, we have huge issues here with COVID-19 at the Grill. We had to make determinations of how we could safely serve our customers, and we did that by limiting the times that we were open and then also encouraging social distancing. I'm going to say that we're going to need more support here at the federal and state level here for our small businesses. It always seems that when Wall Street needs a bailout, trillions of dollars, appears. But when we need small businesses that need support, it's always very difficult. And 80% of the jobs that are created in this country are still small businesses that occur here in this nation. And I was shocked at how, when that first round of PPP that went out, of how difficult it was for our small businesses from which to be able to get those loans in favor of bigger businesses. We have to place an emphasis on this country here on small business owners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll have you start first with the next question that we have, and that would be, how would you work to implement a uniform internet access throughout your district for those who work and learn at home?
Yeah, this is another question here where having access to reliable and cost-effective broadband is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. And we learn this here with respect to education, where many of our schools in the district had to go to online learning, and many of them also just did not have access to the internet. So we were sending children home here with blizzard bags from which to try to learn as if this was a snow day. We also had issues here with medicine. We had our seniors and other persons that couldn't see their doctors. And we have this advent here of telemedicine, but that means nothing if we don't have broadband. And again, this is something that I think both the federal government and the state government are going to have to help with here. There have been initiatives that have started in the state to look at these issues, and it's sorely needed here in the 99th district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So I also agree that obviously broadband has been highlighted as a high area of need in the last 6 months in our district. And I'm thankful that the county commissioners in Ashtabula County already have started down this road with a feasibility study and looking at how we can make this more available at a cost-effective rate to constituents in this part of the district. Obviously, we may need to continue that in the 99th portion of Geauga County because it's an area with needs as well. And I'm not familiar with the commissioner's efforts in that area, but we do need to continue to make sure that as we move forward, there is access and that we have an opportunity for businesses and families to make the connections that they need, and that has been highlighted a lot in the last 6 months.
Thank you. The third question, and Sarah, we'll start with you, is do you think it's important to reduce the role of money in our elections? Why or why not? That's
an interesting question, and one I probably go back and forth on myself quite a bit, because we all look at the amount spent in campaigns and say, that's a lot of money. But I have a number of people who've been involved in business for many years, and they continually remind me that in the scope of our GDP, it's a very small amount. Ultimately, I'm thankful that we live in the freest country on earth that allows us to share our views with each other through a civil forum, that we have the opportunity to vote and to peaceably make sure that our differences are resolved. And I think that regardless of the amount of money that is involved, that is the core principle that we need to continue to focus on and to have as our ultimate goal. You can have very small amounts of money, as there's higher limits in the federal races than there are in state races, and we still see many issues with transparency, and we need to make sure that money is not the only thing that limits us from having a fair and free election. Thank you.
Richard?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's gone out of control, especially with the federal system with respect to the amount of money that's involved in politics. And I think that the United States Supreme Court needs to revisit the Citizens United case. I think on the local level, I think that the money is, I think perhaps more equitable, but I have concerns, even in Ohio, with the culture of Columbus that exists down in Columbus. The opposing side here was just involved here on allegations of $60 million. $60 million that was going to be spent here in some of these House and Senate races. Now, I don't know if my opponent was going to be in line to receive those funds or not, but those have since been stopped. But I will note with my opponent that when she announced her race in early August, that she was being told that she was going to be a part of Team Householder. That's a major concern that we have here about big money coming in here from which to affect local elections. Thank you.
Thanks. And I have one more question for both of you. And Richard, we'll start with you. Is what changes in Ohio policing laws would you support or oppose, and why?
Well, I want to say here, I want to talk about things that have occurred here in my area here of Ashtabula City. We had a very peaceful protest that did occur with respect to the Black Lives Movement, and we had our chief of police in the city of Ashtabula, Chief Stell, who wrote a letter in the newspaper that said, "We are with you." We are with you in the sense that we understand that there does need to be more minority hiring and that there's things that we can do from which to enhance policing. I happen to teach over at Kent State Ashtabula. It is in the criminal justice field, and so we do talk about community policing and this idea of the police knowing their community members. So I just want to say I'm very proud of our law enforcement officers locally that have recognized that there are problems and are willing to meet with people from which to seek solutions. And I also want to talk about the NRA endorsement as well here. I am a gun owner. I'm a responsible gun owner. But I didn't agree with the NRA's stance that we shouldn't give the police a break when you stop and you have a CCW permit, that you don't inform our officers of the fact that you are armed. Let's give our cops a break. Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you. I have many friends in law enforcement and have had the opportunity to discuss with them some of the recent proposals over the summer of the governor and of other groups in Columbus that are pushing for a variety of reforms to our policing laws. I think that probably the most valuable in the eyes of the law enforcement that I've spoken with is the mental health training and being trained more thoroughly how to de-escalate situations. However, many of them also felt that they do have a lot of tools at their disposal that maybe they just need to utilize more frequently. So I think that ultimately we need to focus on encouraging our police officers to do the best job that they can, supporting their families, and recognizing that all of us have areas that we need to improve in, but it's a continuous improvement cycle, just as it is in education. It's not something that you can click your fingers and instantly be a perfect at. So I would support things that encourage our police to do the best job that they can.
Thank you. That is the last question that we have concerning this state race, and we want to thank you both for participating in tonight's Candidates Night. Just want to have a notice that as indicated on the slide, there is going to be a rebroadcast of this event through the Geauga League of Women Voters, as you can see, and also on GTV via Spectrum, that they will also be replaying tonight's Candidates Night. Then the next thing for those who are on site is to also reference some of the other valuable things as we go through the selection process. As the voter guides, Vote 411 is an opportunity for registering to vote, update registrations. Also, the voters in Geauga County should have all received their printed voter guide that have the responses from all the candidates. And this is something that has been valuable, that has been produced here in Geauga County for many years. And for the judicial candidates, you can also go to the judicialvotescount.com, and that is another reference for people that have interest in the judicial candidates. So this concludes our Geauga County Candidates Night for 2020 general election. I want to take this opportunity to thank the candidates who participated tonight. The coronavirus has temporarily changed our world, and it takes courage and passion for our candidates to step out of their traditional campaign box and to speak to the Geauga County voters via Zoom format. The challenges of public office has also become a bit more complicated as a result of social media. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your desire and willingness either to enter and or to serve in the public arena. Special thanks goes to the Geauga County League of Women Voters and the Kenston Schools Student Political Action Committee. Individuals in both groups voted many hours of their time to make this event happen. The Geauga League of Women Voters are going to continue to remain equally passionate about increasing voter participation and creating more informed citizens. Thank you again for participating, and best wishes.